Because I am very famous for that. So welcome Thursday night. Of course, we're doing element 5 tonight, optimizing your surroundings. And Allie, I see Val is trying to get in and she's having issues.
Okay. Well, there she
So anyway,
is.
yeah, she's coming out. So anyway, optimizing your surroundings. And, it says average time to complete this is 1 to 2 weeks. So here again, work at your own pace. So if you're brand new tonight to this, the life book should take you about a year to get through. So, you've got 725 pages, give or take, in there. 2 pages a day is all it takes, guys. 2 pages a day, and it will take you that year to work through the book and truly transform yourself from the inside out. Tonight, of course, mindset, skill set, and action. Tonight, we're going to look at your surroundings and see how we can recruit the people, modify the places, and change the things that touch your world. Think about that. Think about the folks that are in your circle. Think about maybe your loved ones. Think about the ones who you work with. And think about it from this perspective. How many of those in those circles support you? How many of those folks in that circle could be your saboteur? They bring the donuts to work. They're going, "Hey, Allie, you want these donuts? They're so good. You you want one." We've all got those folks in our circle. And so think about those folks for just a second. Of course, mindset, we're going to discover how to create a micro environment of healthy relationships. How do we establish boundaries? We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. When you're on your 5-in-1 journey and that friend brings those donuts to work, how do you establish a boundary? And here again, it's not about being belligerent with that, but approaching it from a perspective of, number one, you're trying to do the right thing for yourself, and you would appreciate them being supportive of your wish to do that. So it takes some practice and takes some effort, and it takes sometimes having those hard conversations. Provide you with the tools, resources, and tips that will help you improve your relationships. And then, of course, examine the value of community and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And we come across this quite a bit, community. You'll hear us say that quite a bit in Optimal Awakenings community. Y'all are in community right now. So here again, just showing up every week and putting yourself and your health first is the first step to making a true transformation. And if you're watching the recording and you're brand new to this evening, or maybe you're watching live, and if you're brand new, you're going to find that this journey is so much more than just how much weight can I lose this week. About how do you navigate your environment, your surroundings, your work environment. Maybe you're at home all the time, and maybe the pantry's calling you. You've got kids and snacks, and you got goldfish being thrown around the house by the kids and all these things. How do you navigate all that? It can be really tough, and it can be challenging. It can be so challenging to your willpower, and we talk about that in element 2. But if you've got your reasons in front of you, which we've gone through in element 1, you've recharged that willpower tank when it gets depleted, utilizing your whys, and you'll find, and if you exercise what we learned in element 4, how to stay above the line, how to not get sucked into the drama and to get sucked into the chit chat at work and all those circles. And here again, changing your circle at work over time, it takes some time. You begin to make these changes that'll help improve your health. So I've rambled on enough. Allie, if you're ready to get started, I'll chime in when ready.
All right. Well, one of the things that I love is, and I just want to point this out before we get started. So we're in element 5, right? Have we hit an element where we've talked about the fuelings yet? Why do you think Dr. A hasn't had us talk about the feelings yet? Because they're not the most important part of this journey. They are an important tool. But you guys, getting good at this awareness building, right? Remember last week the last 2 weeks, we talked about above and below the line behavior, which is, it's basically emotional management. We're just building an awareness to, where we are in our minds and our emotions throughout the day. And we go up and down, up and down, up and down, above and below the line all day long. It's not that we're supposed to beat ourselves up about where we are we below, are we above, but it's about building that awareness. This next chapter does the same thing. It's going to continue us along that journey of building our awareness, but now we're building it in the healthy habit of surroundings. We're developing our self-awareness. We're becoming more aware of our emotions, And we're learning to respond to things in our surroundings versus react. Because if we can keep stability inside of us emotionally, if we can be the master of our emotions, then no matter what's going on out here, and y'all, you know, there is always something. There is always something going on, right? Valentine's Day, our washing machine died. It was only 5 years old. It's a Maytag. Don't get Maytag anymore because apparently they don't make them like they used to. But that could have, that could have been a really like woo thing, but it wasn't, because I have become the master of my emotions. I can handle it. We're going to navigate that. It's going to be fine. So, but it's taken 6 years for me to work on this. And these habits are so important, because has anyone ever asked their coach, hey, when I get to my goal weight, how do I keep from gaining all the weight back after I transition away from the fuelings? This is it. So just stay with us. Everyone who's in here, y'all, this is so good. This is so good. And I go back to this again and again and again. In fact, I was going to tell people, my life book is falling apart. It is falling apart. I have literally, I need another one. I mean, I have written and scribbled and underlined, and it's a journal. It's for you. It's a journal. Just think of it. It's where you're learning stuff about yourself, and you're breaking it open. So let's talk about optimizing our relationships. Our relationships are critical to everything we do. This is not just the relationships we have with the people around us. It's also the relationship we have with ourselves. So, we're building an awareness not only to how we respond to our environment and the relationships around us, but also how we are doing with that inner self-talk and that emotional management. We are learning to take full responsibility for whatever happens during our day, right? When we take full responsibility, we can't be a victim, a villain, or a hero, which is that below the line behavior, right? Because when we take responsibility, we're just taking responsibility and we go above the line and we're like, well, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to respond to this? It's to be able to shift back above the line using stop, challenge, and choose. Has anybody in here not heard of stop, challenge, and choose? Please raise your hand. If you're not on screen, you can do a little thing where you put your hand up if you haven't heard of stop, challenge, and choose. But I'm going to go over it really, really quickly just because I know this is being recorded. Stop, challenge, and choose is when you get to a moment where something happens, okay? And instead of just having a reaction to it, like that's what we've been doing, we're going to pause, okay? We're going to stop. We're going to challenge what's going on. If you're having an emotional response to something, you're going to pause. You're going to challenge. What do I want to do in this moment? How do I want to respond to what's happening? Whether it's my daughter rolling her eyes at me or walking into a room full of hot donuts now, whatever that moment is, I'm going to pause. I'm going to challenge myself to go, what is the reaction or the response that I should have to get me to where I want to go? And then I'm going to choose my response. I'm not just going to react and then go, what just happened? I'm going to choose, and I'm going to make that choice. When I react, where do I act from? My emotions, my Labrador brain, right? When I pause and I challenge and I choose, I react from my thinking brain. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to pause and engage in our thinking brain. Go ahead and look at page 128. We've got the below the line behavior and the above the line behavior. Now, we talked last week and the week before about the victim, villain, hero, right? So here, a part of that, which is also considered below the line behavior, is being closed off to any kinds of suggestions or people sharing things about something, being defensive and wanting to be right all the time. Y'all, I definitely spent a lot of time in the red arrow in my life. So just saying, it's really nice to pull yourself out of that, because when you get out of that arrow, you go to the open, curious growth mindset. You learn stuff, you learn better ways to do things, you learn more effective ways to do things, and things in your life and your wellness start changing. So I'm going to read this really quickly. This is what we're striving to achieve as our default state, right? So we're building an awareness of where we are now and how we react and rather than respond to things, so that we can build a new I call it an autopilot setting. Dr. A calls it our default state. Either one, it's the one that exists, that is just there, that we tap into. And when I started this program, I was always tapping into a below the line reaction. And now I'm able to tap into an above the line response. So the cool or no, like I know who you are system, is the second operating system. It's run by our thinking brain, and it allows you to have a meaningful, conscious conversation that's mutually beneficial. The body's in a relaxed state. You have a slow heart rate, you have normal blood pressure, and you have a sense of alertness. It allows us to thrive. It is the habits of health default state, and our goal as you design the authorship of your life. So self-awareness, we go, well, what is self-awareness? It's knowing yourself, knowing your emotions, and what triggers them. Okay. And then you know how you normally react to specific people and places. And then you stop challenging and choosing in the places and with the people that would normally give you a trigger reaction. Instead, then you pause and you have a thoughtful, creative, above the line response in those surroundings or interacting with those people. Y'all, it's so wonderful. My sweet, beautiful daughter, so kind and loving and cuddly, turned into a teenager. And then everything changed. And we went, I had to go into full stop, challenge, choose mode with her a lot. And it was good because it saved our relationship. The eye rolling is so strong that she has popped contacts out of her eyes, rolling them at me. So to tell you, the sass is strong with that one, but we've learned a lot together. She's now off in her freshman year of college. But that stop, challenge, and choose scenario couldn't have come at a better time in my life and hers. So it's something that is definitely helpful. I used it a lot with food also in the beginning of my journey. Anytime something tempting came along, I utilized that moment to make a better change. Most of the time I did. So that's an improvement. And you guys definitely thank yourselves for those times when you do your best and you at least pause and go through the stop, challenge, choose. Even if you don't always make the perfect choice, the fact that you're pausing and you're engaging in that structure of that activity is huge. And that's building that awareness and it's building that health long term. That stop, challenge, choose is the big tool that gives us power over our emotions. Okay. That is really one of the best things that I believe this entire habits of health system teaches us. Because the way we handle our emotions dictate action. Did y'all know that? If you're mad at your brother and your mom goes, give him a hug. Do you want to go give him a hug? No, you probably want to slap him or punch him or kick him again like you did 5 minutes ago. So our emotions dictate our actions. So if we can become the master of our emotions and learn how to process them in a healthy way, we very quickly are able to get to better actions. Early detection of when these emotions are coming up. We're going to start building that awareness, okay? So Dr. Ray said that in the last element, we talked about the importance of sensing the type of changes in your body that herald the rise of an emotion. Sometimes it's you feel it in your stomach. You can feel it in the tightening of your chest. You can feel it in the change of your breathing. Having that early detection awareness helps us create a gap, and it gives us time to stop, challenge, and choose, right? And not let that go system activate. The go system is when it's like, oh no, you didn't, and you just in on it, right? You just jumping in, and next thing you know, somebody's pulling you off, going, Allison, settle down. The no system is when you can go, I'm gonna take my little sip of water, pause and see what's going on here, and then I'm going to respond. And you're going to, when you act in emotion, a lot of times the action that comes out of that is not good. Have you guys ever heard somebody say, don't make a major life decision when you're really upset, angry, sad? Like that's not a good time because we're not using our what? Our thinking brain. So this is what we're doing. Let's look on page 131. I love that Dr. Anderson is talking about, we got to take our ego out of the equation a lot. That's something that, you know, you may not realize runs rampant and controls a lot of your action, but it can. And so he says, you know, one thing you can do in that stop, challenge, and choose moment is say, does it matter what I think about myself in this situation? You know, it most of the time, unless it's a tangible threat to your job or it runs the risk of you being physically hurt, it's probably an imagined threat. It's something that you feel like is maybe embarrassing or a damage that you feel like to your ego. And so you have this default response or reaction to something. But when you can pause, like when my daughter rolls her eyes and I just want to go, I can pause and I can find out where that's coming from. And it's a frustration on her part, and we work through it. So there's a nice little exercise here that you can read through, regulating your emotions, some examples of that. Then he gives us an opportunity on page 132 to go through that exercise on our own. If you haven't had a chance to do that, y'all, this week, have some fun. 5 minutes. 5 minutes is all it takes. Everybody get away, find a nice quiet spot, and go through this. The goal is, our emotions are a powerful source of energy for action. If we fail to harness it, that go energy can easily see us slip into unhealthy behaviors in both our choices and in our interaction with others. Being able to feel our emotions fully and then determine our own choice of how to constructively express them is our goal. All right. You know, when your toddler has a temper tantrum, yeah, there's a reason why we don't do that as adults. It's because it's not cool. I mean, there are some adults that do that, but that's not cool. We don't do that. We are taught how to manage our emotions. I hopefully we learn how to get them out in a healthy way. So I love Dr. A says on page 133, he talks about check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's the easiest way to remember the stop, challenge, and choose. It's just, I need to check myself before I wreck myself. I need to see where I am in my emotions. Let's go on to page 134, managing your experiences. So regulating your behavior will be easier as you become more aware of your emotions, and that will allow you to start managing your responses better. So if you have these positive connections and they're enhancing your journey, how do we create more of them and deepen the existing relationships that we have? So he gives us some things that we can do in those stop, challenge, choose moments. So on page 135, he has a wonderful list that you can go through and you can see what you can do in that stop, challenge, and choose. He talks about first recognizing when an emotion is trying to come explode up, recognizing those early signs, the breathing, right? Maybe the heat coming up off your neck. You want it to cool down. You want to calm your breathing. He said, open your water bottle, take a drink. That's one of my favorite things that he does. Think of how your response can improve things rather than take them the wrong direction. Sometimes you can count to 10 before responding. Sometimes you can sleep on it. How many times has anybody been at work and somebody sent you an email that was just it just kind of pushed your buttons a little bit, and maybe you had 14 email responses to you as you're walking through or driving home? I'm going to tell them that but then you sleep on it and in the morning you have a better response. So sometimes sleeping on it is good. Get a better night's sleep, smile and be appreciative, be open and curious, and desire to grow when challenged. And one of the biggest things that I think came out of this for me was understanding that how someone else is projecting to me has nothing, or on me has nothing to do with me. I don't have to let that change my state. That's what's going on with them. And I don't know what's going on with them, but that really has nothing to do with me. That's part of that, releasing that ego and understanding, when we have those emails where somebody's all jazzed up, maybe being able to step back and try and figure out where they're coming from or where this is coming from, and then being able to have an open, curious, and creative conversation with them on how that they can get what they need. And everybody, it's a win, find the win-win. I love it. He says on page 135, the question, who can upset you? Only you. It's your choice. It's your choice whether or not you get upset. That one was hard for me. But these tools really help. Breathing, calming down. Maybe I need to take a lap around the house before I respond to something. All of those things, I take my emotional management back, right? So important, you guys, so important. On page 136, this is a great graphic. I love this. This is one I've tried to really take to heart. What's happening? This one is where I mess up every time. What did I want to have happen? Because that's when you get jazzed up, is when you have an expectation and it does not get met, right? What's missing? What's missing and what's next? So when we go from what did I want to have happen to what's missing, we're moving from an emotional reaction to a thinking brain response, right? That is such a wonderful step. So I love that. What's happening? What do I want to have happen? What's missing? What's next? Your social consciousness. How am I doing on time, Kenny? Because I know this is a big one and I don't want to.
Split it up in two parts.
We'll
We'll go into two
we'll
parts.
split it into two parts. It's just so good, y'all. I don't want to rush it. So all of this stuff that we've been talking about so far is self-regulating. It's self-regulating our emotions. And you guys, it just plan on this taking time. You're going to get to your goal weight long before you've mastered this. And just know that. But mastering this is imperative. So don't get to your goal weight and be like, woo, like that's, dive in now and then continue to work on it. This is my fourth or fifth time through the life book. Fifth time with Kenny through the life book. So, and I'm still working on this. You get better at it every single time around, but it is so important. So that's self-regulating and understanding how to do it and just building an awareness of your emotions and your triggers and your go system and your no system. Go is emotional reaction. No is your thoughtful, creative, stop, challenge, choose response system. So it's hard to make that switch. And I will tell you what, it's really hard if you don't feel good, if you're off plan and you're not eating like you're supposed to, and it's making you irritated because you're losing that great energy, you're losing, just the wonderful discipline and structure that comes with that, drinking the water, getting the good sleep, when your habits are in a good place, it's a lot easier to always go to the no system. When you don't feel good, it's really hard to fight the go system. So just know that too. When we don't feel good, we tend to we don't feel good and we just react rather than respond. So just know that too about yourself. Do you want me to pause here or do you want me to go a little further, Kenny?
If you want to do the next little section, social consciousness, we can do that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stop at improving relationships. And we must have stopped there last time because I dog-eared it.
Yep.
All right, so social consciousness. This is being aware of other people's emotions and what's going on inside them. So I kind of touched upon that just about a hot second ago when I said, when somebody's coming at you and bringing an energy at you, we have to learn to go, all right, that's something that they're going through that has nothing to do with me. They're having an emotional response or reaction, that probably more likely, right, to something. And I have the choice to not have that send me into the go system. I can remain in the no system and be creative and curious and not let that change how I feel, not let that dictate any kind of action that would not be anything other than productive and helpful. So the key habit here is to listen with a desire to understand people from their vantage point. So, this is going to sound wrong the way it comes out of my mouth, but please don't take it that way. It can become a beautiful, it's a beautiful chance to explore something, right? I don't want to call it a game because we're not fooling around with people. We really are doing this honestly, but I think of a game for me as something fun and it's something that I enjoy. And because I care about other human beings, trying to see where they're coming from, trying to understand maybe what's going on in their life, having, projecting an openness that tells them, it's okay to say, hey, I hear you. Let's share what's going on. I want to understand what's going on. It can help take them down a notch. It also keeps you from changing where you are, but it shows that you're open and you want to understand and you want to be someone who is helpful and can help them shift into that creative thinking brain as well. So when we seek to understand things from someone else's world and their path, everything opens up in our relationships. So one of the things I wrote was get rid of the baggage. So this is really interesting. So you're married to somebody for a really long time. And maybe you've had a lot of great experiences, but you've also had some not so great ones. So what happens is in all these experiences, whether we do this consciously or subconsciously, we throw what happens into a little bag that we forget that we carry around. So then what happens is if you've known this person for a really long time, could even be a sibling or a parent, and you have a conversation and maybe you don't feel good that day, they might say something to you like, hey, have you seen my red suitcase? And you make that question into something that it isn't. Like, they're mad at me because I borrowed that suitcase and they want to know if I put it back where it's supposed to go. And really, honestly, they were just like, hey, have you seen it? There's nothing there, but you're pulling from this bag of past stuff. They don't know you're doing that. You're not listening to what they're asking you, and you're putting all this emotion on it that doesn't belong. So it's becoming aware of not pulling from that bag, maybe getting rid of the bag altogether with that person. And every single time you have a conversation, it is fresh, it is new. You take it at face value. You take it where you are in the moment, and you understand and you look at where they're coming from in order to have that conversation. Y'all, this takes time. This is hard to do, especially if you've been with somebody for a long time, especially in people grow and people change, hopefully. And so sometimes you're putting something out there that they're not even that person anymore. And so, that goes back to that expectation of something that isn't there. So then you have the what's missing, what's next. Something important in person, rather than use text or emails. How many times have we either upset someone or been unintentionally rattled by relying on the trivial 7% of words available by text or email? Text or email doesn't show what? Emotions. You can't hear, you just see words. And you're gonna, you could read a sentence 3 different ways. You read it a happy way, an irritated way, an angry way, and none of that comes across in a text or email. So before you get all jazzed up about something, how someone sends you and what you perceive is the tone, it's better to put that ego away and try and creatively assess, what the tone of this would be and how to move forwards. You can also listen to understand. He says, avoid looking at your phone screen while people are talking to you. Step into someone else's shoes and seek to understand the whole picture. And also get used to communicating with people too that are maybe misunderstanding you, coming from a calm place and giving them a little backstory about why you are where you are in this moment, and invite them to see that too. Like, we can do that for each other. So he gives us an assignment: make a decision to listen to what someone else is communicating until they're completely done talking. So when they finish their last syllable, that's another hard one for me, before even formulating your response. Strive to listen to understand so that you get the person you're talking to and you can appreciate them as a fellow human. Then replay what you heard them actually say. Sometimes if you're really having trouble understanding someone because you just have a lot of baggage with them, a good thing to do is when they tell you something and they've stopped, pause and you say, I think that I heard you say this. Am I understanding that correctly? Is that what you're saying? And you let them know, I'm listening and I want to understand what you're saying. And that really, really helps you not pull from the bag of tricks. It helps you have an honest conversation. So he says, try this with people you're close to, as well as those with whom you have some friction. So I think that's a good place to stop. That's a good assignment for the week. And here we are at Thursday. So we have one more work day ahead of us, but we also have a weekend full of hopefully being with friends or family. So this is something that we can all work on this weekend. I think it'd be really good. I know I'm going to work on it over here. That's